Let's kick.
Hello, welcome back to another live episode of The Escape, where hopefully your mind, body, energy, everything that you need to take a break is taking a break. I am Maya the activist, and this conversation or this episode is going to be about connection. I'm going to get into what I mean by that a little later, but before I do, I'm going to talk a little bit about my co-host today. As you know, every time, well, I try to, let me say that. Every time I get on live, I try to bring in someone else just so that I can give a lot more perspective to people. My first live, I had someone come in that was completely opposite of me, a part of the LGBT community, um, you know, visually, aesthetically, a white male. And just so that anybody that's watching this looking for advice can get advice from someone that either looks like them or feels like they can give them the same advice or same perspective based on their lifestyle. So with that being said, I'm going to go my co-host into this episode about connections. She is amazing. She's going to introduce her own self because I want you to pretty much, you know, get the gist of who she is from her own mouth instead of my own. But I do know a little bit about the things that she does. She is really like just body positive, energy positive, and really just trying to get everybody creating spaces is my main reason why I was drawn to this individual, because she's really big on that, and it's really based on her not having spaces for herself. I'm still waiting for her to join. I sent the invite out, but while I do that, also let me talk about next week's episode. Next week's episode, I do want to go live again. I'm currently collaborating with another co-host. Yeah, we still need to connect and get some things finalized. So I'm not going to write it in stone or post any flyers or anything like that until I make sure I know what date that we're going to do. I know this one got rescheduled, so a lot of my following or followers that wanted to join that conversation may have been just thrown off by the schedule a little bit. So I completely understand that, but it was out of my control and I could not do anything. Yay, she joined. All right, I'm gonna send you an invite, Jen. Um, but yeah, that was out of my control. We got things back on track, so awesome. Awesome, yes, she's here.
Hi,
Hi, how are you? Thank you for
I'm
joining.
good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited. So I gave a little bit of introduction. I told them about you a little bit because I got excited and stuff. But I
hmm
also was like, I want you to tell them some things about you too, because you're super awesome, and I want your vision and your wording to be exactly what you envisioned for you. So please introduce yourself so that anybody from my following that loves you, which I know they will, can follow you onto your platforms and things.
So I'm assuming, I'm not really that tech savvy. I know they be like millennials and Gen Zs and all that. They know everything. I don't know all of that. So I'm sure somewhere around here is okay, at least for me, if I click the little arrow at the top, it shows who's in here. But
Mm-hmm.
my name is Jennifer Brown. And social media wise, I go by Gingerly Slaying almost all platforms for any of my individual or personal, brands and projects and things like that. My second business is now called Big Bold and Social. It previously was named Baltimore Big Baddies. Some people are familiar with that name. I created the group, I believe, in 2018. And so it's actually been around for what, going on 4 years, and I think March or something like that.
Nice.
And over the 4 years, of course, number one, two of those being pandemic years. We either way in the first 2 years, I guess, we were able to do a lot in the body positive community within the DMV, and that's partially, I don't even think I shared with you when we talked, that's partially how the group started, was because as I went on my journey to self-love and all that kind of stuff, which we did talk a little bit about, a lot of it took place in like DC or the other parts of the DMV, because depending on, I guess, what you believe, Baltimore is not considered to be part of the DMV. And the funny thing is, I used to fight that real hard because I'm like, we Maryland, like, what are you talking about? But like, now I don't even want to be considered part of the DMV. I'm like, you're right. We're not. We're different. We're different here. And I mean, the reason why they say that is because we're not accessible by the same metro that they use in the other parts of Maryland and DC. So that's why they say we're not part of the DMV. And you know what? They right. We our own little thing. But a lot of the stuff that I, enjoyed and went to, and the different types of events that celebrated plus women, or just celebrated, connection and fun and different things like that, were held mostly in DC, but then, some of the surrounding areas, like, I can't even think about the surrounding areas, but close to DC. And I was just like, I'm tired of taking my big old booty to DC just to have, number one, a good time, and number two, to celebrate. I'm like, it's plenty of fat people back home. Like, what? So I was like, I feel like we should have these same opportunities to really feel celebrated, have spaces dedicated or at least safe to us. So Big Bold and Social, again, formerly Baltimore Big Baddies, is a body positive social group that specializes in sisterhood, physical wellness, and mental wholeness. And if that doesn't roll off the tongue so well, it's because it is rather new. My vision for the group has just continued to grow. God, the universe, everybody has just been dumping it in. Like, no, like, you thought it was this. You thought y'all just wanted to go out and twerk. Nah, you're not just doing that. You're helping women, achieve physical wellness and mental wholeness as well. I don't even think I told you when we talked, because we talked for a long time, y'all. So it was a lot of stuff that I don't know about Mariah, but I was holding back because, to a degree, just because I'm like, this can't keep going. Like, we gotta, wrap it up. But, I really do want to have a kind of like something similar to like a women's center or something through Big Bold and Social. And so I wanted to be a space where, pandemic pending, women can come, obviously, for like social events, safe social events. We don't always feel safe out in the community. And I want this to be a place where, like, you can have fun, you can let loose, you can, have your alcoholic beverages and not feel, scared, like what's going to happen to me. Obviously I'm not the Lord, the universe, so I can't control everything. But, when you create a certain space, it does typically keep those that should not be there out. And so, obviously, yes, safe social, experiences, social experiences that would be catered to the plus community, really the body positive community. And again, if anyone isn't familiar, obviously, when people say body positive, they kind of think fat, plus size, whatever you want to call it. And that is true. That the movement, the community was started kind of for those people, as a safe place for those people. However, I guess being the amazing people we are, we didn't then want to do the same thing that people did to us and leave other people out. And so that's why we say body positivity, because although, yes, again, we do highlight, plus bodies and all that kind of stuff, it's really open to anyone with a body
Exactly.
positivity. It could be a skinny body, it could be a fat body, it could be a short body, tall body, whatever.
Brown.
And that's why I advertise my group as a body positive social group, because again, I'm always going to be for the big girl. I'm always going to be for the people who need that extra love, that support, connection. However, I'm also never going to close my doors to anyone else who may need that, regardless of what their body looks like on the outside.
Exactly.
Like you said, there's skinny fat people out here. So, maybe they feel like they fat. And of
Honestly,
course we all know the very skinny people who get teased for that, who may not want to be that skinny and, for whatever reason can't help it, or having trouble, accepting that, or, doing whatever it is that they maybe can do to build the body that they want. And so, that's why I advertise as a body positive group. And so back to the Women's Center, like I said, yes, I want to have like very safe social events, but I also want to have a gym inside, which again would be catered to plus people, because for whatever reason, people act like fat people can't work out, which I mean, which is just dumb, period. But at the bare minimum, how I'm gonna get skinny? Y'all want me to be skinny. Y'all talking so much shit about me being fat, but how I'm gonna get skinny if I'm not working out?
will make
I
you
don't
uncomfortable
understand.
when you do go to spaces like that, and
That's what
if
I'm
you
saying. They
don't
try to make you
belong
feel
there.
uncomfortable, but y'all the ones who told me to come
But
here because y'all said
this
I was
space was made for me. This space was
like,
made for people who are out of shape, not you. You
I
in shape.
don't
You can
understand
go.
what's going
You
on.
can go home.
So obviously, I would want, to have a gym in there. Again, number one, a lot of women, skinny or not, don't feel safe at the gym. People out here taking pictures of them, trying to touch on them, all types of stuff. And I want that to not be an issue. And also, somewhere where we would come and have like, I call it sister support sessions, similar to like a sister circle, if you've heard of that. I just think that term is played out, so I'm not using that.
Mhm.
But a place where we literally come and we have those heartfelt conversations. We share, we cry, we laugh. Other types of. I know you mentioned like a an activity that's close to your heart. The Mirror and Me, which I'll let you share more about that whenever you're ready. But different events that would have activities such as that included, whether it's like a hour meeting or like an actual like workshop or whatever. I want it to be a place that holds that as well. So again, the vision for this has just continued to expand from, I just want to, have a group where like we go out and we look cute and we shut it down, while we all big and curvy and whatnot, to really trying to really create a source and a foundation of connection, which is something we'll be talking about tonight. Another element to why I started everything that I've started is I was in foster care for 5 years. And the entire time I was in foster care for, besides maybe a collective like 5-6 months, I was alone. And I know what it feels like to be lonely. And so I absolutely hated that feeling. I literally cried every day. I wasn't able to see my mom. But the way the universe works, my extended family that I didn't even know went to the same church as my foster family. And they were able to like reach out to my mom and, let her know I'm okay and all that kind of stuff. It was very lonely and I hated it so much that I think that really gave me the desire to really keep anyone from having to experience that if possible. So, that's another element of why I'm so invested in connection. And I really do think that connection can save lives. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, to be honest, like, I'm someone who suffers from, thank you. I'm somebody who suffers from anxiety and depression. And I've been so depressed at points that I've honestly considered taking my own life. And the times that I didn't do it, I mean, funny, not funny. My main reason is because I'm scared that it's not going to work. And baby, I'd rather be depressed than depressed and paralyzed. Okay. Like, let's keep it real. But beyond that,
Authentic space. Authentic space.
exactly. And I told my therapist that too. And she's like, okay, well, thanks for being honest.
Mhm.
But the other element, so the times that I've chosen not to do that, was my connections to other people, like my little brother who's 20 years old, like my girlfriend, like my close friends, that like I know how, again, I know how I felt when I've lost people, and I'm like, damn, like I really wish I could have done something to help them, or like this is really sad or whatever, and I don't want those people to experience that. So literally connections have saved my life. Like, and that's why I'm so passionate about trying to form connection for those who don't have it. Again, and if you do, like, you can have a whole group of
Why
girlfriends
not go
already.
more?
If for whatever reason you want to find another space for a
Why
different
not?
type of connection, I'm
Exactly.
fine with that, baby. Or bring them on, bring
Yeah, because you
them
never
on.
know what you're going to get. There's always blessings
Ex-
within, and sometimes you have to leave a space to get the blessing. Sometimes you can't get the blessing with everybody around you. So
Exactly.
only
And
get
there's
yours.
just different, again, like we'll talk about it, there's different types of connections. And so, those are a lot of the reasons why I'm very passionate about what I do and what I am trying to do. And hope that, anybody watching, especially if you are feeling a little lonely, you go ahead and follow me. Like I said, it's Big Bold and Social on Instagram. And we just we relaunched, we did a rebrand, so we basically relaunched the beginning ish of this year. And so there's lots there from all of the other things that we've done, and I'm super proud of that, and that's why I'll keep it up. But it is we're doing baby steps as we come back, so some of the amazing things I'm talking about now may not be as boisterously displayed on the profile, but hopefully you can tell that I'm a woman of my word, and the things that I say are in the works are in the works. And so I would love to have you follow us from the ground up, be one of our day ones.
Yes.
But if not, you're gonna see us around anyway. You're gonna end up,
Yeah.
following at some point. You're gonna get on the wagon at some
Yep.
point.
Yep.
So you might as well just get on it now while it's free. That's
While,
all I'm saying.
while we not driving nowhere, so you don't got to run behind and jump on.
Exactly. While we still a little slow, you can jump on to the back, you know?
No, I feel that. And honestly, everything that you spoke about has completely drawn me to you. And the reason why I was really excited to have you on one of my episodes. So for me, just in case some of your following is on here that followed you over here, Black Girl Matriarch is my second page. My first page is Songbird_23, or you can search Maya the activist. But I created this space because I was fresh off a demotion, and I've been pretty much a like hard working individual and really goal oriented my entire life. And
Amen.
I was able to keep up spiritually with myself and where I was and where I wanted to go and who I am, because I like to meditate on those things. I like to have conversations with myself. But like as you step into adulthood, the time to do that is shortened. We only have 24 hours in a day, and I found myself being lost in the sauce, being very much so holding on to my career and not really understanding where I fall in my personal life, along with me losing a lot. We lose things every day. COVID has been hard for everybody. But over the past year, I've lost a job, I've lost my dad, I've lost relationships with my sister, I've lost control of the interior of my previous home to the point where it really wasn't livable, breathable. Everything was decaying, for lack of a better word. People don't want to use that because it has a stank to it, but it was stank. My experience, my reality wasn't, who I was on the inside. And I had issues with showing my light in such dark places. Um, so I created this space because I didn't have one. And I got tired of not having one. I got tired of not being able to speak freely. I got tired of not feeling like I was a part of something, but always being a part of something, if that makes sense. I really didn't feel the connection that I wanted to feel. And that's why, honestly, that's why another reason why I was really drawn to you, Jen. So it was really big for me to initially, when I started this page, align myself, get my body in alignment, start meditating more, start working on my chakras. So if you scroll down the beginning of my pages, it's really focused on mantras and affirmations and what your chakras are and what they're used for. And then we start going into what I call a benevolent sisterhood. And in my sisterhood, there are three pillars of trust, and that is benevolence first, kindness, obviously, honesty, and authenticity. And that's the only three ways we can really build trust with each other, is if we're constantly being kind and constantly being honest and constantly deciding to show up as our true authentic self, even if the crap is a mess. And the crazy thing is, when I first started, my dad died. So I was like, oh no, she's no good. I don't wanna sit here and have these people come follow me and say that I'm this spiritual guide. And I'm a mess. I'm a whole mess right now. And then I realized, like, part of the pillar is authenticity. And so I made a post and I said, I don't feel, calibrated. I do not feel like I'm in my full capacity, but this is the space that I'm going to choose to be vulnerable. This is the space that I'm going to choose to show up anyhow. And however people receive it, what they get out of it, whatever blessing is left at the end of the storm, please take it and be what you need. So that was a milestone there. Then it began to change into my mindset began to change into life coach, because it's not a lot of Black women out there who want to coach and be a life coach. And I kind of find it hard. There's no offense. Everybody is welcome in my matriarchy. Anybody that wants to be a part of a system is welcome here. But it's really hard to take some coaching from people who haven't experienced the turmoil we have in our history and in our current lives. So I find it very imperative to not only be like a familiar face for someone like me, but also like be a voice. So I'm really leaning into getting my license for life coaching, actually starting to give some services now. If you're interested, I know it's some few people. I've read the comments. I see y'all. I hope you see me. But I understand, because I have a seasonal depression. Um, so I really just am creating this space for you. Even if you just get on my page just to see what I'm posting or just get uplifted, that's fine. If you don't want any services, or if you just need somebody to talk to, you can always reach out. I do not bite. But this whole year has just been God embarrassing me so that I can become a tool and a vessel for someone else. And I'm still waiting to see how that plays out. I'm just, like I said, being authentic, and whatever relationships and connections happen along the way, it's a blessing. It is a blessing. So, with that being said, let's get into some of these questions. The
Okay.
first one I have is, how do you stop caring about what other people think about you? What are some steps that you have taken or are taking that helps you with that?
So it's so funny because when I saw that this was one of the questions, because I was graciously provided with the questions ahead of time, um, I laughed because my uncle, like my grown uncle, who's at least late 40s, was talking to my father, and like again, like people, a message is people that you don't know are watching you, just so you know. And so my uncle apparently has been watching me, and he's like, I love all the things that you do, you're just so confident, blah blah blah. And for reference, he was born with some type of cancer, had to get leukemia, like his nose is deformed, and he just always had self-esteem issues growing up, and even till now. And so he's like, I'm just so inspired by you, whatever. He's like, how do you not care? And like me and my father laughed, and we were just like, you just don't. Like,
You
and
just don't do
so
it. Just don't.
when you said that question, I was really just like, I still don't necessarily know how to break it down, because in my mind it really kind of is either you do or you don't. No, let me change that. I feel like there's a middle ground, because I don't feel like there's ever, to me personally in my journey, there hasn't ever been a time where I just didn't care what anybody thought. Like, I do care. It's really about my reaction to that sense or that feeling of caring or wanting to be liked, whatever. before, I would let that feeling take me to a place where I'm like, oh, well, I shouldn't do this, or I should do this, or I need to do that, and I need to do that. And now when first of all, I acknowledge that I feel that way. I'm like, oh, like, you know, I'm feeling like I'm concerned with what this person thinks of me. Okay, that's step number one. So acknowledging it. And then I may question myself, like, well, why? And, it may be because they have a position that I aspire to have. They have something that I aspire to have. Like, maybe it's somebody who's really like popular. And like I just said, I'd lack connections to a degree. And so I may be overly concerned with what they think of me because I kind of want to be like them.
Yeah.
And so also, excuse me, acknowledging that that's okay. Like, it's okay for me to want to be like them. But what's not okay is for me to change who I am to try to get there. And what's also not okay is for me to care so much that I'm hard on myself. Like, like I said about, my self-love journey, because I have not always been confident, but, I'm a bad bitch today. So, I really found that I don't think mostly I cared what I looked like. I cared what other people thought I looked like. Mm-hmm. And so literally when I say you just don't, I'm sure there's more in that, but it kind of boils down to you just don't. You just have to make the decision, like, I'm not gonna, again, not that I'm not gonna care what people think. I'm just not going to allow that to cause me to behave in certain ways. So I'm not going to allow it to cause me to shut down or to change who I am. Or I'm glad you feel like I'm talking to you, girl. Look, again, we need to. This is what it's all about. It's feeling not alone because again, I'm not. I ain't gonna sit here and say I'm like America's Next Top Model, but I do know a lot of people look at me who know me personally or who have engaged with me, and they would never know that I feel a lot of the things that I feel internally. But baby, just come and ask me because I'm gonna tell you. That's the one thing I've never been shy or secretive. I always give you the tea. But and yeah, so it's really about, I don't think that it's about not caring what people think. I think it's really about dictating your reactions to that experience of caring what people. I just personally don't think that I would love to meet a person that doesn't care what people think of them. Like, I feel like in any situation, there's gonna be, even the most confident person is gonna have times where, like, maybe they spoke a little harshly to someone. And I'm sure that they might be like, oh, damn, do they think like I'm mean now? Or do they think I'm a bitch now? Like, and it doesn't always have to be about your appearance. Because a lot of times when I am concerned about what people think about me, it's really about my personality and my character. Because I deal with like depression and anxiety, sometimes I'll walk into a room and I'm like, hey, like, hey girl, what's up? And other times I'll walk into the room and I don't speak to anyone. And it's never personal or intentional. It's just I'm having a bad mental health day that day. And so a lot of times I'm concerned, like, do they think like I'm a bitch now? Like,
no, I do that too.
I'll even go to people and say, like, I know I didn't speak to you this morning, but it wasn't personal. I'm just having a really hard day. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand. Especially, again, because the people that I connect with are people who have similar, personalities and spirits to mine. And that's how I would react to people. Like, I would never really take that personally. I understand the things that I struggle with. And I'm just going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you're struggling with the same thing, especially till you come and tell me otherwise. So, again, to wrap up my rant, or my story, I just really think it's about how you respond to feeling that way. I really don't think it's about not caring what people think about you, because caring what people think about you can be good and is important, because that makes you a good person if you care. If you don't care, you're probably, like I said before in our conversation, clinically a psychopath. And also, by the way, I am a licensed social worker. So if I mention, different diagnoses and things like that, I am licensed in this field, and I never, just blurt words out the way that we do culturally, like calling people crazy and all that. No, I'm saying clinically, like by definition, they might actually be a sociopath if they don't think that.
I want to shout out some people that just joined. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
everybody that did. Thank you, everybody that commented thus far. I'm going to read some and then I'm going to answer the question myself. The first comment is from Tabby, the Tabby brand. The freedom to not care is a muscle that needs to be exercised often, and it is a muscle. A lot of people feel as though you just pick up one and done and solve it. It's the same thing with cleansing your chakras. You don't do it one time. We experience life, and like everything else, it gets dirty and it needs to be cleaned. And your muscle needs to be flexed. So flex it. I feel like you're talking directly to me. Maddie said that. That part, I think I care too much. Definitely find myself caring too much about how people perceive my actions. And now for me, I'm not going to disagree with you because you know yourself better, and I'm not here to take anybody's validation away. But I really feel like as Black women, we are prone to caring more
Mm-hmm.
naturally. And a lot of it, especially about how people perceive us, has to do about consequences that were confirmed based on actions that we didn't really agree with. If that makes sense, I'll break it down. For example, me being a mad Black woman, I'm mad and I'm Black. Those are two coincidences. They don't always equate. I always say that. But at the same time, it's like certain things are confirmed by that we didn't already agree with. So it's already training us. The environment is also already training us to be cautious of being this mad Black woman and tiptoeing, especially for me on the corporate side. I was always tiptoeing because I was worried about being perceived as someone who was doing too much, someone who was an aggressor, and that's a lot of things that they don't talk about in the workplace that is still definitely projected onto us, even when it's not true, or even when we're vocalizing our opinion about something that we're passionate about, like right now. And I feel like because of that, we hold on to it. We hold on to that in our consciousness because that wasn't our intent. And so when it's not your intent, you sometimes you go out of your way to make sure that next time my intentions are clear when you actually care. Simple as that. And so now you're creating a habit of curating a personality that wasn't always your personality, but because somebody perceived you that way, now you're trying to change yourself so that hopefully, you can come off the way you intended. But based on the question, to me, that's not your problem. That's a part of not caring what other people think, is that understanding who you are, understanding your intentions, understanding what you stand for, and why, how you showed up. So if I'm coming to have a conversation with you and I know that I'm showing up in a way that is respectful, in a way that is not aggressive and not offensive, and yet you still take it that way, therefore, I'm not saying I don't care how you feel. I just don't feel like that it applies, because that's not necessarily true. And so it takes women a real long time to realize, actually, my opinion is valid and I'm standing in that square. I don't care if you're being emotional about it or trying to gaslight me into feeling as though I'm the crazy one. And I won't stand for it. And we really need to advocate for ourselves on that front, because there is a lot of mental dictation and mental illnesses that is started or continued by that behavior. And so I really just want you to just pay attention to the whole situation. Run it back, write it down in your journal. Make sure that you're thoroughly understanding, like, okay, did I do something wrong? Is there something I can grow on? Because people will gaslight you in situations that you're completely valid in expressing yourself in. And you need to tell them to sit down and eat their food, because it's not okay. It was never okay. But yeah, I mean, definitely care how people think. We're human beings. It's nothing wrong with that. I don't want y'all to feel like, oh, I'm weird because I care. I remember when I was going through this whole year of craziness, I was crying to my mother, and she was just like, you just need to accept the fact that you're the type of person that cares. You just need to accept that. You care, baby. It's okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh. just coming for me. But it's true. And I wanted to not be somebody that cared so much because caring has drained me. Caring has almost killed me spiritually. I've literally been on
Mhm.
my deathbed, honey baby. So I don't want to care anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to be nice. I'm tired. But you have a bigger purpose. Like, you
Mhm.
can't keep changing yourself because over time you lose your purpose. Over time you lose the whole reason that you're here. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but it's worth it. So hold on to you is what I'm saying. And I don't know. I think that's all
So
I have to say on that question. What's
I
up?
think also another element is having boundaries on your
Oh
caring
yeah.
and having limits.
Oh yeah.
So because what you said is absolutely true. The way that I approach most situations, because again, and I think that the question is maybe, I don't know, basically because initially when I thought of the question, I'm thinking like, what do people think about like my appearance and stuff like that? But there's also just what do people think about my actions as well? And so, I think that because I had the same, kind of vibe or practice that you do, where when it come down to it, I said what I said, I meant what I said, and I really don't care how you feel about it. And so, but again, that's not normally where I start. And when I
Right.
say that, I mean, I always check myself. So if I say to someone, I don't think you should have done that, like in the corporate world, or I don't think that this makes sense. I don't think this was the best way to do that. If they, either tell me or interact with me in a way that it's like, oh, like they took it negatively, then I check in with myself and I say, okay, did I say it, in a way that wasn't the way
Right.
that I meant it? What are the reasons why I said it? Like, am I just hating, or is it a valid concern or a valid, statement, whatever? I check in with myself. I even may try to talk to the person because, again, like, I've been that person to take things in a way when that they weren't meant. And like, I wasn't trying to, it just was where I was. And so again, because I empathize with that, I might even go to the person and say like, hey, like, is everything
Right.
cool? Like, let's talk, like, what's the problem? Basically, depending on what our rapport is like, I'll say it differently or whatever. And, of course, like, if they're open to talking to me about it, then we can discuss like, okay, well, that's not how I meant it. This is why I said it, blah, 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 blah. If they on some, they got their panties in a bunch and they just want to be mad, then fine. Then that's when I hit the point of, I don't care,
Yeah.
because I've checked in with myself. I attempted to check in with you, and I
Mm-hmm.
still know from the jump that what I was saying was valid.
Yeah.
So baby, I don't give a damn how you
Yeah.
feel. You're not going to make me feel bad for speaking up for myself, and more than likely speaking up for other people, because more than likely whenever I'm saying something, it's for the collective good. It ain't about me, baby. So you're not going to make me feel bad for trying to help everybody, including you, because normally what I'm saying is probably going to help you too. So, yeah, like, I think you should have limits on how
Yeah.
much you care.
For
Like,
sure.
my girlfriend literally to this day sits here and thinks about a man that she hit in the ankles with a car in a grocery store when she was a baby.
Oh, see,
No,
that resonates with me.
we
No,
ain't doing that. We
I
ain't. I
understand.
don't care.
I be
I don't
feeling
care.
bad about stuff
Like,
like that.
mm-mm. No, absolutely not. No,
Girl.
and a lot of that is anxiety fueled.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Like I told you, anxiety is an all or nothing mental disease. Like either
Mm-hmm.
everything is going good and your anxiety is somewhat under wraps, or one thing, it literally could just take one thing and you're like, that's it. I'm having an anxiety attack. I'm not doing this anymore. Like one trigger, that's
Mm-hmm.
all it takes. But we live in a world where it's like you take what you get and you don't complain. So it's like, how do you find a balance in this? Because I need a little bit more of love and less crumbs off the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality when it comes to mental health. They really be trying to give you the crumbs. But all right, next question. Right? How do
Mm-hmm.
you break up with a friend or maybe a family member that you know you need to set those boundaries with? It may not be like a clean breakup. You may not like be like, I never want to talk to you again, lose my number. But like, how do you sever some ties with people that you once had a close connection with?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, I don't think I've had the pleasure of doing this. I feel like people have always pretty much severed ties with me. So I don't necessarily know if I have, great life experience or whatever. But um, again, I use the word rapport a lot, which is a clinical term if people don't know, for, just like what your relationship is like with the person. And there's different levels of rapport. So like in a therapeutic relationship, one of the goals is always to build that rapport, build that, safety net, build that familiarity with, between the therapist and the client. And so there's a spectrum of rapport. Like some people I barely have rapport with because we've only met 2 times. So I can't go to them and be like, girl, what are you talking about? I have to be like, oh, and how did that make you feel? Okay. But then I had the clients that I've been meeting with for like a year, and I'm like, now, girl, you know damn well you ain't one that. No, ma'am.
Exactly.
And so that's really the approach that I take to really any of the relationships and connections that I have. And the way that I interact with people is based on the rapport that I have with them. And so if I have the rapport and also their emotional intelligence. So if I have the rapport and they are emotionally intelligent enough to have a conversation with me about something, then I will absolutely have the conversation because, again, I have experienced the ghosting and that doesn't feel good to me. Like, I much rather know what I did to make you feel that you don't want to engage with me at this time or forever, whatever, than to just be sitting here like questioning, like, well, what did I do wrong? Because on top of that, I don't want to do that to someone else. So if I made you feel bad, if I wasn't there for you, whatever the reason is, and it may not have anything to do with me, you just might not be able to do this right now, whatever. But if it is something that I did, I want to know that. And so, if I can have those conversations with those people, I absolutely would. Like, I don't think it would ever get to the point where I felt like I needed to sever a connection with you. But if there was a time where you said something that may have hurt me or, I may have taken wrong, then I'm going to come to you and be like, hey, like, also this might have been like 2 months ago, but at the time I wasn't necessarily ready. I wanted to have my thoughts and my feelings in check. But, this is, what you said, and this is how I felt, when you said that. And so it's kind of been weighing on me. I definitely wanted to talk about it because for all I know, I took it the wrong way, but that is how I felt in that moment. And then we talk about it. But if there are people in my life that I don't feel like are emotionally intelligent enough for that, or we just don't have that type of rapport, like we was just homegirls at Burger King, like, to be honest, I'm a ghost. Like,
No, I'm just
like,
saying.
and I mean, and I don't want to say ghost because, again, in my experience, those things just have a way of deteriorating on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not normally as if that person is continuously hitting me up and I'm just not responding to them. Like, literally, somehow the universe just makes it where, like, I don't really have to deal with it. It's not a thing. Like, it just kind of goes away.
The trash takes itself out sometimes,
Basically. And I mean, I think a big part of breaking up with, because especially you mentioned those people who typically we would have those close connections with, is, like you said, authenticity, like being honest with yourself. Like, why are you holding on to this relationship? Are you holding on to it for the sake of, this is my mother, this is my sister? Exactly. Like, that's not good enough. Okay. The phrase blood ain't no thicker than water or whatever exists for a reason. Just because someone holds this title because they birthed you does not entitle them to access to you if they're not treating it the way that they should. Because, baby, I'm a high commodity. And you don't just put me in the bags with the melons when I'm a carton of eggs, okay? Like, you just don't do that. So, why are you holding on to this relationship? That's what you really need to ask yourself and be honest about it. And don't give people roses that they don't deserve. Don't say, oh, well, my mom does call me once a year. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so do the bill collectors. Mm-hmm. You're not giving them chances. You're hanging up on them and blocking them. So really being honest with yourself about why you're holding on to these relationships will really help you to sever the ones that are not beneficial to you. And also making the decision, do you need to sever it? Because I have friends, past friends right now where we never officially severed anything, and I think we're both just fine. Like, neither one of us is like, you know what, I really need to call her and tell her we're not friends anymore. Like,
Right.
it's good. Like we know where
At
we
some
stand.
point, it gets a little petty when you do that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like, we know where we stand. But of course, if there are people who really are continuously trying to hit me up and I'm really not feeling it, I'm going to tell them. I'm going to, again, I'm not even going to lie, because I think things are a lot easier said than done. So of course I'm gonna sit here and be like, I'm gonna tell them, but I ain't gonna lie. I probably might sugarcoat it, or I might not say everything that I'm feeling, just for the sake of not being petty and for the sake of not causing more trauma than I need to for myself or that other person. But
Mhm.
I am going to be clear that, like, I might even blame it on me. Maybe it's not me, but I might say, right now I'm not in a space where I can really, have these types of communications. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to like leave you hanging, but I do just want to be honest with you because I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want you endlessly calling me and I'm never answering the phone. And yes, I might know it's because you just get on my last damn nerve, but what's the point of me really saying that? And
See,
that, like, why am I saying that? Am I saying that just to get that off my chest, or am I saying it to actually be constructive to you? If I'm not saying it to be constructive, then there's no real reason to say it.
at the
Like,
end of the day,
I
for
can write
me,
that in my journal.
I have a tendency of backing away slowly. People really don't notice that I'm in the room because I tend to be quiet. So if I don't want to be anywhere, I back away slowly. And then when they realize that, oh, where Mariah at? I'm already on to the next. Like, I'm already doing
Mm-hmm,
something. But when it is time for me to have a conversation or be upfront, I think for me, I really choose my conversations based on me. If
mm-hmm,
I am feeling like this relation or this conversation is not going to fall on any fertile ground, you're not willing to listen to anything that I have to say, you're listening
mm-hmm,
to respond, and you do not want resolution because you're not willing to be wrong in the situation like I am,
mm-hmm,
I'm not going to waste my energy. I'm
mm-hmm,
going to, like the teachers used to say, teach those who want to be taught. I'm going to
mm-hmm,
have relationships and have thorough conversations and emotional draining conversations for those who need it or are willing to put in the work along with me. I'm no longer bringing in more energy than they are matching. It's just
mm-hmm,
not happening. So, what I tend to do is I have conversations with people that I know you know. I'll do
mm-hmm,
business with you if you do good business with other people. I treat my life like a business. So if I know that you have bad blood with somebody else, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to do business with you, but I am going to be interested in as to why you have the bad blood. Because I'm not willing to just keep jumping into bed with these different people who are vampires. And here to just drain me. So what I tend to do is maybe if we have a mutual friend, I'll just sit around and listen to how they talk about their relationship. Sit around if it's just like a random person that I know that you came in contact with. I've had a coworker. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be their friend. I've heard over time customers talk, coworkers talk. Okay. So not just that I get a good vibe off of you, other people are getting good vibes off of you too. Because it's not enough for me to just be the one that you treat right. That's not
mm-hmm,
enough for me. I'm sorry. Like you can't just treat me good and then treat everybody else like, you know,
mm-hmm.
trash. And
That's
then
gonna turn me off.
it's going to turn me completely. So I have to do some recon. I have to do some research. And then from there, I make the best decisions. I make the executive decision on my life because everybody else that I have a relationship with you, whether they know you or not, they're going to be affected by your lack of work ethic, you showing up to work on time or late, AKA me, or like things like that. Like I think of it like that. And I think of my friends and my family as like employees, for lack of a better word, because the environment that I create is going to tell you what type of relationship and work relationship that we have. And when it's time to do the work in our relationship, that's going to show you how much time and work I invested in making sure that I kept the energy in this space protected, pretty much.
Mm-hmm,
So I take it really seriously. Like I will hire and fire people as I please at this point because if you're just not here to work, if you're not here to do anything, you just sitting here trying to collect a dime off of me or an emotional dime off of me, I'm sorry, you gotta go. That's
mm-hmm,
stealing. And I used to tell my mom all the time, I have no problem being an island because the island that I'm creating is for people who need my resources. They're not just for
mm-hmm,
anybody that can just catch the bus to me. if you got to catch a plane, a ferry, and some extra stuff, and horseback ride to me, then goddamn it, you do the work. And if you show up, that means you get resources. That means you want to be here. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, and you're feeling like that's a little too hard or a little too far for you to travel, and it's not worth it, then stay where you are. And respectfully, I will love you from afar. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I see it. Because I've been in so many situations where I've had to set boundaries and cut people off without having the conversation because they don't get it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to sit here and look crazy arguing with crazy. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Like, I've been so drained that, like, I'm just like, she good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think
What
there's
else?
any benefit in discussing anything with someone who doesn't want to hear it. One thing I do, want to specify, if I haven't already, is I tend, because of my work and the experiences that I've had with people and the different like levels of their life and trauma and all that I've been privy to, I pretty much always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. And also, it's very much also for me. It's like forgiveness. So I give people the benefit of the doubt so that I'm not mad, to be honest. So instead of me thinking like, oh, you did me shitty, I think like, you don't understand what you did. Or you probably did that because somebody has done something similar to you. I always give people the benefit of the doubt because number one is a lot of times it's true. Like, it's true. But on top of that, it also just keeps me from being angry. Like, it's not even personal at this point. You just don't get it. And that's fine. Like,
And that's okay.
yeah. So, it's not always, no mean girl energy like, oh, I don't, you, whatever. It's really just, you're just not ready. And that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and slide out the back door. And if you become ready, I'm never a locked door. If you become ready, number one, we can have that conversation. And number two, we could potentially regain a relationship. But for now, with the person in the space that you're in comparison to who I am, it's just not going to work. And we won't have to go our separate ways. But I'm always open because, again, like I've changed tremendously over my almost 30 years. Like, so I know that other people can do the same if they're willing and if they have the opportunity because my life has been blessed.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of obstacles and barriers that I haven't had to experience that other people have that make it very hard to grow emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to become a better person, but everybody in your life is shit. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you really do that easily? I'm not saying it's impossible, but I understand that shit
It's
ain't
a lot of
easy.
stuff you're going to have to overcome.
Exactly. And if you don't have any examples,
Right?
representation is so helpful. You learn things from the people that you're around. And if none of them have that knowledge, it's going to be very hard for you to get it. Again, not impossible, but hard. And
Life
so,
life is kind of like a tunnel, and this is what I was experiencing when I was in high school. I had like this weird friendship breakup, and my mom was like, life is a tunnel, and it's dark, and everybody's just walking blindly. We don't know where we're going. We just see the light at the end, and
hmm
we're chasing that, and we're running towards that. And what's funny is like when you get to the end, how big that like is and how wide the perspective grows and how much you can see now because you've went through so much darkness and experience. But while you're going through that tunnel, y'all might lose each other because you can't
hmm
see. You might lose touch with somebody. You might realize that I've outgrown this relationship. You might realize that I don't have that connection with that person anymore. But you have to trust that y'all all eventually are going to meet up with each other at the end of the tunnel after you go on with some life experiences, or maybe you guys had some time to really think some things over, and now you're coming to the end of the tunnel with this lesson or this chapter in your life, and you're realizing, oh, okay, we had to meet back up. You had to go do your thing, I had to go do my thing for this to work. And it's no love lost, it's just a journey that we're all on. And becoming okay with that, that's the whole, really accepting is really the hardest part about this whole experience called life, because
hmm
there's a lot of things that are really hard to accept.
Yeah.
But
And then, when you mentioned the tunnel, you said like we might meet up at the end, but also accepting that you may not.
you may not
They might not make
make
it.
it.
Somebody might have shit, I might not make it. I'm halfway there, but there's still another half to go. But somebody might have anxiety to the point as soon as you turn off the lights, they shut the fuck down. They
Okay.
do not have the capability to find another way. You know, I'm over here like, okay, well, I can at least touch the wall to find my way out. They like, it's dark. I don't know
Yeah.
nothing around that. I don't even know what to do. And
Yeah.
had I stayed with that person while they was freaking the fuck out, I'm not gonna make it out either.
Nope.
So that's another reason why I don't need to be holding on to relationships for the sake of, oh, that's my mother back there having a panic attack. Like, Ma, I'm gonna help you. Like, I'm gonna show you how to touch the wall. I'm gonna tell you can hold my hand. But if you don't want to do none of the things to get us the hell out of here, then baby, I gotta leave you. Okay? Like,
Sorry about it. Lay you down, boo. But listen, and those are hard decisions that y'all have to make. But that reminds me of this dream I had. It's really creepy. I haven't experienced it yet, and I can't wait till I do. It was a dream over. You know how you had those dreams over a few days, and it don't be be a few hours. But over a few days, it was like this creepy homeless man that kept walking up to me and my friends saying, "Hey, I gotta talk to you," and I'm like, stranger danger. This is weird. Okay. I kept crossing the street or going a different route or, just doing something different to avoid this person. And then finally, I'm walking down the street by myself. I don't know why, but I'm walking down the street by myself. And same old guy walked up to me like, I was trying to tell you that there was some money over there in that trash can, but I didn't want to tell you with a whole bunch of people around you. And I'm like, okay. I mean, granted, it's a dream, but I'm like, obviously, you know me, I wake up and I'm thinking like, what is the meaning of everything? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm probably missing out on blessings by having certain people around me that's not meant for that journey. And I finally get on this journey of being alone, and people feel really lonely. And I really had to tell myself at one point, like, you are alone, but you're not lonely. You have yourself, you have your higher self, you have whatever God that some of you follow. I have God, I have the love for me, I have a few friends. I'm not lonely. I'm alone right now in this journey because there are blessings that I need to get on my own. There are lessons, there are messages that if I get distracted by friends and family walking along with me to get me there, I'm not going to receive all of the things that I'm supposed to get out of this. And therefore, I'm not getting my blessing because I'm too afraid to run this race by myself. I'm too afraid to bet on me. That's what I got out of it for me. And I've been holding on to that because I had that dream like almost 5 years ago. And I'm still holding on to it because it shook me to my core because it's a real thing for me. Like, I really am sometimes afraid to bet on myself. I'm afraid to sometimes run this race alone. I'm afraid that this won't be well received. I'm afraid that my intent isn't going to be granted. Like I'm afraid that I'm going to fall on my face like everybody else. But at the end of the day, like certain races, you can't run with everybody. This ain't a three-legged race. Sometimes you got to drop that potato sack and just book it.
And that reminds me of how, I talk a lot about connections and how I've spent time feeling lonely. And I'm going to be honest, like, I feel some loneliness now, but I do also value and understand the value in being alone. I accomplish the most when I'm alone. Me and my girlfriend been together 10 years. We're still madly in love. We was on quarantine together it'll be 11 years this year, but almost 2 weeks. And literally that whole 2 weeks, I didn't do nothing because we was up each other's ass. And I was like, I need you to go back to work. So I understand that there's a lot more that I can do when I'm physically alone, although I'm not lonely. And another thing that reminds me of is I'm constantly be 7 groups of people. And of course I can integrate into them and like have conversations with them, but I never fit into the point where like they want to engulf me and now make me a part of that group, which is why I'm making my own. But I always would say, why don't I fit in? Why don't I fit in? And it literally clicked to me. I was like, I was never meant to fit in. I was always meant to stand out. And that's why I don't fit in. And that's why every time I try to fit in, it doesn't work. And the universe and God is telling me like, they're giving me opportunities to connect with people to show that like, it's not really about you. Like, you're a great person. You're just not meant to be there. So stop trying to be there.
It's okay. You good?
So yeah.
Oh, and I do want to get this in because y'all, if my phone died, don't be mad. I just texted my boyfriend. I said, please bring my charger. I'm at 1%. But I do want to throw this question out there because it was the start of our connection questions that we talked about yesterday. So even if
Mhm.
the phone dies, we can keep the conversation going because we're getting a lot of great comments and a lot of good traction. And I'm really excited about that. But that question was, how do we regain connection with people after this pandemic and throughout the presence of the internet? Because the internet was already something that was getting in our way with connections and or realistic connections because it made you feel connected without actually having to connect with nobody. But then the pandemic hit, so that made a lot of things even harder. So how are we going to regain our human interaction and our human connection after all of that was the question. I definitely feel like let's keep talking until my phone dies, and then when I recharge it, I'll post the 4 other questions about connection with the post. But go ahead, Jen, if you have anything on that.
Um, Again, like I always.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Your phone got you.
I'm so hurt about this. So hurt. Okay. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was saying that I feel like I always have hot takes on stuff. And I feel like this is something that I have a hot take on because, like I mentioned earlier, I was quarantined because I ended up contracting COVID. You know, PSA, Omicron ain't no joke. I went 2 years still working in person, you know, still seeing patients face to face to some degree the entire pandemic. And it took Omicron to finally get me. So y'all be safe, wear y'all masks, get vaccinated if that's your prerogative. If you've been thinking about it, do it. Just stay safe however y'all can. But when you mentioned the element of you connecting out, you know, that kind of dilutes the connection. My hot take is I don't want to. Like I mean I want to, but I don't feel comfortable. After having gotten COVID, I now deal with consistent fatigue. I mean, I already had fatigue issues, likely due to my weight and, you know, my eating habits, sleeping habits, different things like that. But literally when I got off of work today, I was so exhausted that I had to take a nap, and that's why I asked to push back about 30 minutes so that, you know, I could have some energy while talking to the people. And so now having that, you know, elongated symptom that's pretty, you know, detrimental because we gotta hustle, we gotta do stuff. So I need to be awake for that. And it'd be great if I had energy for that. You know, it does make me very scared to interact with people, you know, in person, although I do value and, you know, truly desire in-person connection. So, you know, even with my social group, Big Bold and Social, you know, initially my ideas are to do things virtually just because it doesn't really seem safe. I mean, obviously, you know, you can say like limit the amount of people, have 6 feet, all this kind of stuff, but you know, because some people are vaccinated and some are not. Some people are hanging out with people every day and some are not. And there's no way to really know all of that. I just don't know that there's a safe way to really connect in person, you know, at this time. Although, again, I really do value and enjoy in person connection and think that that's, you know, the bee's knees. So I do think that actually, although the presence of, you know, social media and online communication and things like that, like I said, has had the effect historically to dilute, you know, connection. I do think it is amazing that we have it at a time like this because we wouldn't have anything. So, but how do we even, you know, regain connections? Because like me, again, I was a very social person, and since this pandemic, beyond, you know, fear of COVID, I just got so comfortable being in the house and like just being like me and my little family that I need to reconnect with a lot of people. And so, you know, the most way I, you know, consider doing that again is being transparent, and being authentic and reaching out to those people and accepting that maybe they don't want to reconnect with me, or maybe they're upset with me for having fallen off or whatever. But either way, being, true and reaching out to those people, again, being honest, like, I was a sucky friend. I kind of just disappeared, obviously, like, the pandemic did impact that, but here's what it is. So, I mean, those are my thoughts around, trying to reconnect in
I feel that.
this day and age.
I agree. I think pre-pandemic, probably like doing a lot more things that put you in the same space with each other, because I do believe that vibrations help. Like, even when you just walk into a room, you have enough energy, positive or negative, to shift the atmosphere. So I used to think that, but I feel like I agree with you. It's really not safe out here. So we do, like, I encourage you guys to be safe out here with everything going on, and get creative. We have to use the tools that we have been using just frivolously to have, random connections, to really hone in on having a more serious one. I feel like the internet is a good tool to use to do that. Like right now, I really do feel like me and you are connecting. And on top of that, we're bringing other people in on it so that we can have more lines of connection. It's becoming a web rather than just a linear connection. And so I feel like getting creative with things like this, and trying to, like, make sure that we're creating spaces where things can happen. I feel like it's enough space in here for people to have their opinions. It's enough space in here for people to breathe. It's enough space. So it's similar to me having my mask off and being in that space, because we are creating that space. It's kind of like when they be like, oh, you don't have to go to church to have church. It's like that. Like, we don't have to see each other and be all up in each other's face physically to have a connection with each other. But I feel like before, we weren't really using what we had as resources to maintain a connection. It was kind of like pre-pandemic. I feel like we were using the internet to, like, make people feel like we're connected to them, but we're not really connected to them. You know what I mean? Like, now it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen so and so in so long. Now I'm going to video chat them. Now I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to do that. Because before, I don't know about you, like, people video chatting me on Messenger. I'm like, why are you calling me on here? What is this? Now I'm like, oh yay, I'm talking to my auntie, or so and so is calling me. So I feel like now people are starting to get creative and use the tools and the resources to have more of an in-depth connection with people. So not a bad idea.
Definitely. I like it being worded that way, because I feel like that's where my heart was, but I didn't say it as elegantly as you had said it.
You said it.
So that's another thing, y'all. Like, if y'all want to get some life coaching from Mariah, I would definitely suggest it. I haven't personally, but just the way that she's able to pull out questions and just frame things just based off of what you say out of your own mouth, like, it's crazy. Like, I say one thing and she's like, that prompted me to ask this question. I'm like, I would have never asked that question. Like, so she is amazing at what she does, what she's trying to do, and where she's going and trying to grow. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, so definitely, again, like, let it be on the record that I am anti in-person anything at this point. Like, I really, and that's not even me, but just, I'm telling y'all, like, this thing is really serious. Like, people kind of treating it like a joke still, and it's really not. Like, it's really not. Like, again, luckily, beyond the fatigue that I'm having now, I'm not having, like, a whole lot of, issues. And even during, like, it was more close to, like, a regular cold for the most part. But again, I am vaccinated. And so from what the numbers are showing and different things like that, when you're vaccinated, it does make it typically so that you don't basically die or almost die. So yeah, but
dangerous out here. You want to get into any more of the questions on connection, or you want to put them on the comments and have them do some work?
I know we had said, like, what was it, like, how do you define your connections, or like, what do you want in your connections?
That was one of them. And what do you desire in your connections with people? Like, what are your, not requirements, but, like, what do you want? while you're here?
I mean, I think we can touch on those. You know, I like to talk,
That's
and
okay.
I like to speak for others. You know, because a lot of people will always be like, "Oh my God, that's exactly how I feel," or whatever. But so to give some relatability or whatever, or some shine a spotlight on somebody who might be sharing my same sentiments. For me, in my connections, again, like I know we both consistently use this word so much, but I think it's because of the type of people that we are. But authenticity, like in my connections, I need authenticity. I don't care what that means. I just need authenticity, whatever that is for you. I also need reciprocation. Like, I
Yeah.
can't always be there and you're not there. And the opposite. Like, if I notice that, like, I'm leaning on you way harder than you're leaning on me, honestly, I'm going to pull back and I'm going to find another avenue for that type of need because I don't think that's fair to you. And I don't want to burn out my connection by inappropriately using it, whether the person is capable of it or not. That doesn't mean that they want to. Or at least being open, like, hey, I know I kind of contact you about this a lot. Like, is that cool? Or, whatever. So like I said, authenticity, reciprocation, um, again, I need emotional intelligence. Like I need people in my connections and in my life and circle who understand what mental health illness is, what trauma is, how those things impact my communication at times, people who are able to see my true character so that even in the moments when I'm not acting in my true character, they understand that it's
Yeah.
not personal and that's not who I am. But also people who will call me on my shit
Oh
and be
yes.
like, okay, girl, like we was all right, when you was acting stank for a little bit, but what we not gonna do is continue to do this. So I don't know if this is the new you or what's
What's
going
going on?
on, but get it together or we gonna need to do what we need to do because again, like we can become other people that we don't want to be and not even notice that we're doing it. And so I need those people to hold me accountable. How would you deal with people who are still growing emotionally? I don't know if you were here earlier, but we talked about cutting people off. So that is a way that you can deal with people who are growing emotionally. Again, having your boundaries, deciding in what ways you'll connect with those people and which ways you won't. Like if there's someone who every time they will get on the phone with you, all they want to do is gossip. And if that's not something that you're into, because no shade to gossiping, whatever, if that's what helps you, whatever. But if that's not what you're on, then you decide, okay, I'm only going to answer 1 out of every 5 calls, or I'm going to make sure that our conversations are only 30 minutes, or I'm going to talk to this person and be like, I know we used to kiki all the time talking about people, but at this point, like, that's not really beneficial to me. I really don't care what people do anymore. So like, again, no shade to you. Like, I'm not calling you a bad person. I'm just saying like, I don't really want to do that. So do you have other things you want to talk about or like you just don't want to talk anymore? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
But also, like I said before, giving people grace and being empathetic and, honestly using your own experience. I mean, I don't know too many people that popped out the coochie, emotionally intelligent and all that.
Exactly.
And so I'm sure that there have been experiences and times where like you weren't the most mature or the most, sensitive to other people's needs and things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's been times. I love them, but there's been times.
Exactly. And always keeping that as a reference so that, you can identify with people. Like, yes, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I can understand maybe how you got there or why you may still be there.
Okay.
And also at the same time, this is how I'm deciding to engage with that.
Yeah.
Which it could be not at all, or again, it can be on specific terms. So that's how I would say I would deal with someone who's still growing emotionally. What would you say?
Okay, so this is a 2-part. I'm going to answer how do I define connection? For me, capacity. So this is where
Mm-hmm.
like the equally yoked part comes in. I'm about to backtrack and I'm gonna get back to that question. For me, the equally yoked doesn't necessarily mean we have the same thing, we do the same thing, I have the same energy, you have money, I have money, I'm ambitious, you're ambitious. To me, equally yoked means we have the same capacity. So there's two water bottles, one is full, one is empty, but can this empty water bottle hold all of my like anything that I pour into them? Yes. And I can fill it up and it won't drop. I won't drop or lose anything. Nothing spills over. Then yeah, we're equally yoked. You may just not have everything. You may not be full right now. You may be going through a depression. You may be going through a drought. You may be in between jobs. But do you have the capacity to be equal to me? Yes. So I just need somebody to have the same capacity. Yes, be balanced, for example. Reciprocation is a big thing for me. I don't like people who are emotionally hypocrites. Like, for me, don't ask anything of me that you can't create yourself. And it's not to say like you have to do it amazingly, but for me, it's like this. You need to make sure you're happy, right? So if you want something done that makes you happy, I feel like you should be the first person to do it for you. You shouldn't ask somebody else to do it before you can do it. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
feel. Because what happens when I don't want to do it anymore?
Or
What
when I
happens
can't do it
when I
anymore.
can't, or when I'm not here anymore? What are you going to do? Just be unhappy? And that doesn't really, so I'm not adding up. So for me, I just would prefer you have the capability of doing what you require of me for yourself. That way I
Mm-hmm.
won't feel like I'm being used or manipulated into providing something that you don't even have. That's me. That's what I require for me to have base level connection with somebody. But to answer Ashanti's question, how do you deal with someone who is still growing emotionally? For me, once again, you have to have the capacity to want to keep growing. I don't like people who don't have a growth mindset. If you want to stay where you are, that's fine. I do not mind. You can stay there, but for me, I just like to keep evolving. There's plenty of signs of life out there, but one of the main signs is being able to reproduce and movement. So once I become stagnant and I am not reproducing anything, whether that is positivity, uh, energy, whatever, to me, I am clinically dead. And even if I'm not physically dead, I am on my way. So I would prefer, you know, you at least to have the mindset of wanting to do something. Outside of that, to me, you're clinically and emotionally dead, and I can't do nothing with that. So it's your mindset for me. It's your mindset. That's all. Um, you have anything else to add to that? That was a good question.
Um, just I really want to caution against in everything that we're saying. I want to caution against becoming selfish though and becoming closed off, because while yes, I want people to reciprocate what I give out, I have a gift and I'm not going to be stingy with it based on the fact that I don't think this person would do the same thing for me. Like, that's not really the point. Like, I'm not going to continuously give without any type of reciprocation. But also, I'm not going to withhold things that could be beneficial to you in your growth just based off of the fact that I don't think that you would do the same. Like, that, again, that really has nothing to do with me. So I do want to,
It
you
depends.
know, yeah,
It
I
depends.
do
I mean,
want,
it's a balance, but I definitely I kind of disagree with that because I've been in that role over hand over foot, hand over foot, hand over foot. And
mm-hmm,
I don't, that's why I said you have to have the capacity. You might not have
mm-hmm,
anything in your water bottle to give me at the moment, but if I
mm-hmm,
poured into you, could you hold it? Is it going to be
mm-hmm,
wasted? Are you wasting
yeah,
my time when I give you this? Are you just
mm-hmm,
taking from me and not going to give it to someone else? And those are things that you kind of need to do your research before I give it to you. Because if I give you this responsibility, same thing. God in the Bible said you have to maintain your abundance on earth before you can ever receive my heavenly blessings. So even
mm-hmm,
God is telling you, you need to maintain your shit right now what
Mm-hmm.
you have, what you own, and what I've blessed you with already, because we all have our blessings that we're not, some people are not maintaining, but they want
Mm-hmm.
somebody else to then come in there and give them even more abundance. That's not how that works. You
Mm-hmm.
have to put in the work.
Yeah.
It's required for me for you to do some type of work before I relinquish any resources, because these are held for people who really want to do the work and really want to grow. That I don't know. I agree with you, because I don't feel like I'm necessarily being, I don't think you should be petty and be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, you don't have it, because some people really don't have anything as a baseline, and
Mm-hmm.
that I can respect. But
Mm-hmm.
they also probably have drive, they also have the want, the longing to do something
Mm-hmm.
more, and that's something. That's more
Yeah.
than half of these people have out here, with all the money, all the cars, all the, half of these people don't even have ambition. It was handed and they like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
the best. No, you're not. You ain't work for
And
shit.
that's how they fumble. And that's how they fumble the bag.
Girl.
But and again, to be clear, I'm not saying go to the other spectrum like you're saying, where you've been, where like again you just pouring, and they got holes at the bottom of the cup that they ain't even trying to, put another cup under it or nothing. Like, nah, we're not doing that. But I just don't want people to feel like everything has to be about reciprocation, because that's not always how life is going to be. And like you said, at the same time, you don't want to block your blessings by not being obedient to what is inside of you. And if what is inside of you is telling you to keep some things under wrap, then absolutely. But if there's something telling you like, come on, and you like, no, I'm not doing that because I did that before and it ain't work out. Like, no, we can't do that either.
That
Like, again,
means
it's
still
always
hurt.
about the balance.
That means your heart chakra is still blocked and you're still hurt about something. See,
Mm-hmm.
that means you're not moving with intentions, because when you're moving with intentions, there's plenty of times where I had conversations with people and I started with saying, I don't know why I'm saying this. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what the point of me saying this, but it is imperative and it's heavy on me and weighing on me to tell you this. And they got
Mm-hmm.
that blessing off of that, because certain messages aren't for me to interpret, they're for
Mm-hmm.
them. And me
Yeah.
holding out is me being selfish on them getting their blessing. It's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
out here that don't want to relinquish you from your pain, because that means you're going to power up on them too fucking much and they ain't got shit going for themselves. That's what that's
Mm-hmm.
about. But no, I do agree with you. I feel like your intentions and like like being in that moment and being present, I feel like will guide you in that conversation. Like our conversation yesterday, I feel like both of us were very present, and
Mm-hmm.
it guided us into conversations of having like a surplus of things to talk about here, a surplus
Mm-hmm.
of connections. We know even more about each other than we ever like really known about each other. And I've known you pretty much like what, 8-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it takes, everything was like leading up to that moment where it took your
Yeah.
experiences and my experiences and your loss and my loss to create these two foundational pieces, and that brought us together. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
the bigger thing was this space,
Mm-hmm.
right here. This
And I
is
even
really
had the moment where I was like, I don't really know why I'm saying this, but
right.
it's in me
I
to say
remember
this,
that.
so I'm gonna say it.
I remember that. And I'm so glad you did. Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
came from it.
Yeah.
We got another question in the comments from the Tabby Brain. It says to take stock in the relationship, but where do you place the value of the relationship? And what are your deal breakers and boundaries within that relationship?
Mm-hmm. I think that was might have been in response to like, how do you deal with someone who is still growing
Oh,
emotionally?
and okay.
So yeah, so
So,
to like, again, like I said, I think that's similar to like, what rapport do I have with this client? Oh, sorry, this person, or basically, how important is this relationship to me? Like, if it's not that important, then I'm not going to deal with the person who's still growing. But if it is an important relationship to me, maybe at one point it was strong, maybe it's a relative or whatever reason it's important to me, then that will also help dictate how I decide to deal with that person. Also, again, what are your boundaries? Like I said, like, okay, I have decided that I am willing to still deal with this person, but to what degree and in what way and in what settings and around what topics, you know, that's, you know, you have to make your boundaries. And, you know, I would say you definitely need to make them known to you. I don't necessarily know if it's always pertinent that you make them known to the other person. I feel like if they begin to kind of like overstep those boundaries, then you definitely need to let them know. But sometimes they can be just for you. Like, you know that you're only going to answer their, you know, 1 out of every 5 calls. You know that you're only going to talk to them about these things. But if they continue to push that, like, they're not getting the hint when you're not answering the calls, they're not getting the hint when you're not engaging in that part of the conversation, then you might have to go and be like, okay, so this is kind of where we're doing, you know? And like, if you're cool with that, cool. If you're not, cool.
And honestly, that's assuming that they're not manipulative, because a lot of times I don't tell people certain boundaries because I know that they're going to change once I tell them what my new boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that. I want you to create change. I want you to purpose in your heart that this is who you want to be now. Not because I told you, not because I told you I'm about to dip if you don't, not because I told you I gave you a timeline for it. So certain things I'll even communicate, hey, I'm unhappy and these are the reasons why. But I may not communicate, okay, if I don't see this much change that I need by, unfortunately, this date, after I've already given you time, of course, then I'm going to choose to take this action. And I'm probably not.
I don't feel like in most relationships you deserve that. Like, if I told you that I was unhappy, I don't need to give you a date and time and place, baby. Like,
Right.
I already told you.
This is not school.
Like,
You know,
now opposite, again, in line with how do you value the relationship or where do you place the relationship. In my romantic relationship, which is 10 years long and provides me with tons of different, you know, amazing things, there was a time where I did have to be very clear, like, if you don't do this, this is what I'm going to be forced to do.
Right.
Because of the nature of the relationship. But in most relationships, I ain't doing all that. I'm gonna tell you, like, this is what you did that made me upset. This is what I'm willing to do. Because in almost every situation, both parties have some type of responsibility in that. Like, maybe I didn't speak up enough. Maybe I allowed you to do that for way too long, whatever. So these are the things that I'm also going to agree that I need to do differently or will do differently moving forward. And these are the things that I'm asking of you. And if you don't do those things, then that's it. I'm not going to come back and revisit the assignment. I gave you the assignment. You didn't turn it in, and that's it. Like, no, we're not doing that.
I love it. No, for real. I have one more question. And this was the last thing that we talked about. We were talking about you, us both creating spaces for individuals that are right in the middle. You know, there's spaces for people who are really struggling. Not to say that they don't need it, but there's spaces for them. There's spaces for people who are on the higher spectrum, have some things going, and they're just trying to elevate. But there's no people, like, spaces for people in the middle that's just not in limbo, but just not doing bad, but not doing 100% great either. And the question that I posed to you was, do you feel like the loss of the middle class also came with the loss or the lack of support for individuals in that middle? And I know for me, I definitely feel like that's a yes. I feel like, you know, economically over the years, middle class has been diminishing, and either you have it or you don't. It's kind of becoming the haves and the have-nots. And along with that came a lot of resources for the middle class. Came the demolish of a lot of resources for the middle class, simply like rec centers for the kids, or different just different things that I remember having, even though, like, I wasn't the richest, but I wasn't the poorest either. Just isn't a thing. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
That was something that I hadn't personally really thought about, and I think it's because I've never, until now, and barely there now, was part of the middle class. Like, I grew up poor. So, I mean, I grew up poor, but, like, I didn't know we was poor for real. Like, not fully, but we definitely were poor. So again, like, I never really experienced being in the middle class, even though I thought maybe I was. But I definitely think likely that, why is there going to be support for something that doesn't exist? Like, and as you're saying, the middle class is, becoming a thing that like isn't a thing, because like you said, it's like either you have it or you don't. Like, things are so expensive and so unattainable at this point that you literally have to be like damn near a millionaire. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean, like have tons of money in order to achieve certain things that in previous generations they could do at 20, at least by like 30 or 40. And now we got people that's hitting 50, 60, 70, still ain't never even had the opportunity to do those things, because again, that just doesn't really exist. It's beginning not to exist. So I definitely think that if systemically we've kind of decided we're no longer going to have this group of people, then why would we have, support for those people? So like you said, that was definitely another thing that was very important to me. Look, now my phone dying. It was very important to me because, like you said, like I have always seen where, like, for people who are like extremely low income, there's like all types of like learn how to budget, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. And of course, obviously, for the people who have lots of money and can afford to pay for like $300 workshops and, all type of membership based sisterhoods and different things like that. Those types of things always have existed from what, I've known and seen. But just because I have money doesn't mean I know how to budget. Right? Just because I have some semblance of money doesn't mean that I don't need support. Like, and so it's always been honestly frustrating to me that I never felt like there was a space for me, because obviously I'm not going to walk into the environments where it's for people who are super low income, because I'm not that. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm better than that. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to walk into their community, their space with my problems. It's like, oh, that's nice. You have trouble, paying your mortgage. I wish I could even own a house,
right.
And then of course I'm not able to get into the elitist areas. I ain't got money for that. So it was always frustrating that there wasn't really any support for me. And I knew that there was tons of other people like me that probably could use the support as well. Because also, like, we're just so forgotten. It's like, because you have some level of money, you now have no problems. Like, you don't have mental health issues. You don't need friends. Like, what? Like, how does that even make sense?
Like, who's doing the math here? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, that's just like how so many companies don't offer plus size, but yet 80% of women are plus size. Again, who's doing the math here? Like,
and on top of that, they changed the sizes. I feel like to mentally fuck me, because how is it that I have clothes in range from, I say the lowest, smallest sizes, I have like a 9 or 11, and bigger size I have like 16, 18. And they pretty much almost fit the same, and I'm like, hold on, how y'all gonna? And then
girl, I got a size medium dress in my closet right now. We all damn well know I ain't no motherfucking medium.
This is insane. No, this is insane. No, I agree. This is insane how, like, the messages, the small messages along the way that has been fortified with actions is so frustrating. For example, to me, I personally feel like they don't, this is a random statement, I personally feel like they don't give us pockets because before they didn't really expect women to make money. So
like, what you need pockets for? And also, like, that notion that women are supposed to carry purses. Personally, I hate purses. I hate purses. I carry a book bag every single day. Like, I like handbags for the look. Like, I wear a handbag for the picture, or like because I'm going to an event, but on a daily basis, I ain't wearing no damn purse. Like,
give me a
so they're like, what you need pockets for? You got a purse.
And then they try to charge you an arm and a leg for the purse when you could have just put a deeper pocket on the pants that I just bought. Y'all playing me. So now it's becoming an economic thing where you just want more of my money for the abuse that you're doing. No, sir. Leave me alone.
And then gonna try to psych you out with fake pockets at that.
Exactly. That's
like, what's the point?
I used to always go to the boys section and get cargo pants. Y'all not about to play me. I'm gonna play me.
Mhm.
I'm not doing it.
My girlfriend, you know, a lot of people think, you know, she's more masculine presenting, and a lot of people think like, oh, she wants to be a boy, or like that's why she wears the clothes. She's like, no, boy clothes are comfortable and they have pockets. Like that's really it. Like it's nothing about me wanting to be a man, nothing like that. I fully understand that I'm a woman, but their shit got pockets and they got room,
Their
so
shit
I'm
got
aware of that. And I
no,
was like,
for real.
touche, touche.
I cannot argue with that. That's why women get so excited when there's pockets on their dresses now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been
At
right.
this point, I got my sewing machine, and at this point, I'm just finna start putting pockets in everything.
You have to.
Like I shouldn't, even though I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to make my own pockets, but I will.
All right. Well, actually,
I did have one. I did have one super random question. I know that you mentioned a breakdown of a relationship with the sister. Not sure if that's been mended or not, but I do know. Well, I know both of your sisters. I don't know if you might have other sisters, but I do know you have two sisters, and one of them is Tabby, who has been consistently checking in on the live and showing love. And I love Tabby as much as I love you. But and I also know that y'all family has like the most beautiful eyes and eyelashes ever in life from your beautiful father, who I remember, such a sweet man. That's you, sis. But I didn't know, are you wearing lashes currently?
No. I put this filter on. Hold on, let me I wanna like get the filter. Hold on, let me take this filter off. I'm being extra. So no, these are my natural lashes.
Okay. See, but I told you, you still got the beautiful lashes. So, because I was going to ask, do they happen to be Tabby's lashes?
Yes.
Because guess what? I'm addicted. I'm addicted, okay? I'm addicted.
Opium.
Hold on, baby. Look, we not playing. Wait a minute. We're not playing no games over here. I got another one. And I got another one.
Is that 4 or 5?
It's 4 for now.
No, they are really nice.
You know, baby, look, let me tell you something. So this is the pair of covered lashes I have from that I was wearing. Do y'all see these? These are busted like this is what the covered lash actually looks like.
Oh yeah,
baby,
you did wear them.
I poured the shit out of these, okay? I bought these with my own money, y'all. I literally tried to put these on while that's why I kept going like this. I'm addicted. Okay?
No, it's a really good brand. Tabitha took a lot of time. I know for sure took a lot of time looking for vendors and people that she can really trust, because as women, like we said, we've experienced a lot of people and we bought a lot of things that didn't really serve us and wasted a plethora of money. And I know that everything she put out, she really didn't want y'all to feel that way. So oh my God, I'm so happy because I use her Bombshell shea butter. Love it. It's not super oily. It doesn't just sit on your skin.
Did you say body butter?
Yes. What flavor is that? Hold on. What color is that? Is that the purple one?
Yeah, this is the Mad Passion.
First of all,
look, if y'all see any advertisements on my page for Tabby Vanity, please know that the shit is real. I am not joking. I am not paid. I am not doing this because her shit is
not on no weird stuff. But when I got out the shower, I had a dry patch right here, and I put a little bit on. I patched that up, and
I literally rubbed my girlfriend down in this after her shower, and she is eternally dry, okay? And she didn't become dry for at least several hours, which is good for her, okay?
Yes.
Girl, go ahead and cry, baby. Go ahead.
Especially in the wintertime.
We're not playing no games, okay?
And if you do pop-up shops, they slowed down a little bit because she was blessed with a little gift. But I know the summertime she'll be doing the pop-up shops again too. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah. Dang, Jen, we had another long conversation. It's about to be 2 hours again. So what I'm about to do, I appreciate everybody that's just joining, but unfortunately we've been on here for like an hour and a half. So I'm gonna edit what I have of the video. Hopefully I didn't lose anything when my phone died. If I did, I still have 40 minutes of great content. And if not, I'm really not mad because y'all should have showed up. Y'all should have been on time because we had some good conversation. And I know this won't be the last time. So I'm going to post what we have. And I'm going to open the comments up and post some questions that we went through. We would love to hear what you guys have to say, your inputs, your opinions. Any more questions that you have, you can DM me at BlackGirl_Matriarchy. I'll be posting episodes every Tuesday at 8. I plan on going live again next week if God is willing. I am still looking for guest hosts for February. I try to only do 2 so that I could have like every other week off where I'm pre-recording and get to rest on Tuesday nights. So if you're interested in being a guest host like my beautiful girl Jen, please hit me up, DM me. If you're friends with her, you can DM her. She's great with connecting people like that.
Absolutely.
Don't be a stranger. If that is all, Jen, did you have anything else? Please plug your pages as well one more time for the good time.
Oh, yes. Gingerly, GengerLY_. Don't forget that. Slaying without the G, because we ghetto around here. Baltimore born and raised, okay? SLAYIN, no G. And also, Big Bold and Social is my body positive social group. We specialize in sisterhood, physical wellness, and mental wholeness. So if you're looking for any of those things, please join that community. We did just relaunch the beginning of this year. So obviously, basically a few days ago. So it does have a lot of our previous things on there, not so much of our new, image and different things we're doing, but we are I got all of January's content planned, baby. Okay. So, everything will be there. It's going to be an amazing journey. Hopefully, pandemic willing, we'll be able to do some in-person things at some point, probably at least in the summer. Cause I know like, at least if we're outdoors, it's normally a little, safer and things like that. But yeah, I didn't know if you had the ability to, or wanted to really quickly see if anybody else wanted to join. Because I know it had told me the request to join. So I didn't know if anybody else, wanted to chime in
I
and
sent
look
that
any.
request, but if anybody does want to join, you're more than welcome to. While we wait, I do want to shout out also Pundit TV. Thank you for your support. I am a part of their podcast, so please follow them as well. They do a lot of music reviews, and they're really big on, I wouldn't say small because no artist is small, but people that are still working from the ground up and trying to get their art out there. And the amount of experience that the group has is great, and the amount of things that you get from the group is great. You'll get an interview, you'll get an after-hour show that's normally about 30 minutes to talk about personal, in-depth conversations like this, and some crazy ones at the same time. You get promotion, you get the whole 9. So please check them out if you know an artist or is an artist, because it's not just music. We'll do graphic designs, we'll do whatever you got. Just throw it our way and we'll see what we can do with it. That's Pundit TV once again. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments, seeing if anybody wants to. Okay, Pundit TV is such an amazing voice in the podcast community. Thank you, Tabby, for saying that. And Pundit TV said they're gonna cry. Oh, don't cry. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't want to go, but I have clothes to wash. But
I don't know what I need to do, but we all know that there's something I could be doing. So, although this was a short pleasure and a great use of my time, for sure, and I can't wait till the next time, and I can't wait to see all of you beautiful people who have started following me. Feel free to reach out to me via DM if you want to talk more, or you have another opportunity for me. If you have questions, or you like, do you know somebody that can do this? Because if I know them, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Again, we don't keep no secrets. So definitely. If you scared to talk to people, I'm gonna be your best bet to start talking to people.
Exactly. Don't be mad at me, y'all, if y'all don't see this episode until tomorrow. I do work. Unfortunately, I still have a 9 to 5. I'm trying to quit too, like everybody else. But I will definitely be posting this tomorrow at the latest, if not tonight. So I don't want y'all to be mad at me if you don't see it. But I think that's it for me. I'm Maya the Activist. This is another episode of The Escape, where hopefully your mind, body, and emotions and whatever you need to take a break is taking a break, because I am. This is Jen, and we're signing off.
Good night. Talk to you later, boo.
Exactly. You better.
Got the kick.